Video is a supplement to our earlier video about Yirmiyahu Chafvav. It deals with some of the further depth that we did in the honors class. So we saw that the basic structure of this parak involves this first section in which Yirmiyahu gives his nevuah of destruction. It seems to be a shorter version of the nevuah he gave in Parak Zayin. And then we have this mob scene where the Kohanim and Nevi'im, who have a lot to lose, want to kill him. And the officers, the Sarei Yehuda, come from the palace and prevent an angry mob from lynching him, but they still want to put him on trial. And in the trial, we have Yirmiyahu's defense, where he says, look, Hashem sent me. What do you want from me? I'm just the messenger. If you kill me, you're killing an innocent man. Instead, you should do tshuva. And we have this initial verdict then, right? We should not kill him because he spoke to us in the name of Hashem. And then the elders, when they speak up in section 5 over here, they're supporting the verdict from above. They're supporting the not guilty verdict, by telling the story from earlier in history of how Micha Hanavi, 100 years ago in the time of Chizkiyahu, also threatened Yerushalayim with destruction. And obviously Yerushalayim was not destroyed because Chizkiyahu did not kill Micha. Instead, Chizkiyahu Uriah Hashem, he feared God, and so he had everyone do tshuva. And so the elders seem to support the not guilty verdict. If we were to begin with a cursor here, somewhere in between, guilty and not guilty, if Yirmiyahu starts out really closer to the guilty side, right? Because the fact is, people want to lynch him. Everything we've seen so far in the trial has moved him gradually over to this side over here, right? And he starts out, they want to lynch him. The Sarim say we need to give him a trial. When the trial begins, he says, look, Hashem sent me. And then the Zakanim hear that and say, in fact, there was this other guy in the time of Chizkiyahu who also gave a nevuah. His name was Micha, and Chizkiyahu listened to him. So everything about the trial till this point is Yirmiyahu moving closer and closer to being found not guilty. And the way we studied it in class, we then moved on to the next page with this other story about Uriah Hanavi, ben Shmayahu Mikiryat Ye'arim, who threatened destruction against Jerusalem in the days of Yehoyakim, which is our period right now. And Yehoyakim killed him. First, he tried to kill him, and Uriah ran away to Egypt, and Yehoyakim had him extradited from Egypt, and eventually they brought him back to the king. The king not only executed him, but also threw his dead body, he just throws his body into some cemetery with lots of other people from the masses. So he kills him and sort of leaves his body in disgrace like that. And so the way we understood it in class, this is the prosecution responding. We even had this chart we put in our book to compare Yirmiyahu and Uriyahu, the idea being that Uriyahu, who was found guilty as decided by the king and his people, that Yirmiyahu essentially is headed towards the same fate. So the way we understood it in class is that when Yirmiyahu was right around here about to be found not guilty, suddenly he slowly moves back the other way, and now he basically is being found guilty on the basis of the story involving Uriyahu Hanavi and Yehoyakim. And then, miraculously, just before they're going to actually execute him, Yehoyakim ben Shaphan, whom we discussed as a righteous person who worked in government, so he's politically connected, Yehoyakim ben Shaphan somehow whisks Yirmiyahu away and saves him. Okay, so again, the way we learned it in class until now, initially the mob wants to kill him, he's going to be found guilty. We gradually move more and more and more in the direction of not guilty, and then right before they actually are going to find him not guilty, the story sets us all the way back. The story of Uriah ben Shmayahu Hanavi, who was executed by King Yehoyakim, moves us back this way. So we mentioned in class that reading of the parak is not simple at all. Because if you look, when it says, V'gam ish hayam mitnabeh, when it begins this argument about Uriyahu, there's no new statement of a new group speaking up. Right? Earlier, each unit, Yirmiyahu gave his prophecy, and then the Kohanim and Nevi'im want to kill him. The Sarim come and say we need a trial. Yirmiyahu is introduced here as a new speaker giving his defense, and then the Sarim give their initial not guilty verdict. So again, a new group speaks up. And then a new group speaks up over here, the elders, in support of the not guilty verdict. So how come it doesn't say over here something new? Like another group, unlike the Zakanim, a group of people who hated Yirmiyahu, the prosecuting attorney spoke up now. So our division over here in this booklet, which as you can see was designed by Ms. Krupka, so is the view of Rashi. Rashi looks at this, and when it begins, Rashi realizes that this argument about what Yehoyakim did to Uriah is an argument to convict Yirmiyahu, to punish him, and is therefore at odds or in conflict with the previous psukim, in which Yirmiyahu was being found not guilty, and that was being supported by the story of Chizkiyahu. So along comes Rashi, and Rashi says, when the pasuk begins in Chaf, Uriah ben Shmayahu, when that story begins, Misha Amar Zo, Lo Amar Zo. Whoever said this earlier unit, Psukim Yudchet and Yudtet, about Micha and how the Chizkiyahu obeyed the prophet Micha, Lo Amar Zo, that group, the Zakanim, they're not the ones who spoke out about Uriah. Adkan Divrei HaTzadikim, until now, meaning the earlier Psukim Yudchet and Yudtet, where they said, if the king Chizkiyahu had obeyed the prophet, then maybe we should do the same thing. We're doing something very bad if we kill Yirmiyahu. We should obey the Navi like they did in Chizkiyahu's time. So that's the end of the good people, who again are the old people in the Navi. And then the Rishaim, the bad people, who I guess are the younger ones who didn't hear from their grandparents and parents about Micha, those people say, no, why should we care that Chizkiyahu obeyed the Navi 100 years ago? In our time, under King Yehoyakim, there was a guy named Uriah who gave a nevuah against this city, and he got executed. So if Yirmiyahu is doing the same thing as him, we don't care what they did 100 years ago. Our King Yehoyakim executes people who say that. So that is Rashi's view. The strength of Rashi's view is that it explains why at the end of the parak, Achikam ben Shaphan has to save Yirmiyahu. Right? I mean, if until now the pendulum had been moving towards not guilty because Yirmiyahu made a case for how he just said what Hashem told him, and then the Sarim said, yeah, he has a point, let's not kill him, in Leishadat Mishpat Mavet, and then the old people said, previously when a Navi 100 years ago spoke up, they obeyed that Navi, then we find ourselves with Yirmiyahu being not guilty. So how come Achikam ben Shaphan has to save him? So according to Rashi, I understand that what happened is then when these Rishaim say, look, our king Yehoyakim executes people like Uriah, so we should kill Yirmiyahu too under this king. And so I think Rashi finds his support not only in the fact that these psukim about Uriah seem to go against the previous message of the elders for listening to a Navi, but also in the fact that apparently the upshot of this unit is that Yirmiyahu is in danger because Achikam ben Shaphan has to save him, save him from the people. And so this is Rashi's view, and Rashi in fact says that he got this view from the Midrash. Rashi says, Kach mefurash b'sifrei. This is how it's explained in the Sifrei, which is the Midrash Halacha on Bamidbar and Devarim. So this is the view of Chazal and Rashi. However, there is still a glaring weakness with this view, which is that V'gam Yishamit Nabeh does not begin with a new speaker. It should say V'yamru HaRishaim, or V'yamru HaNashim Asher Lo Hayu Me'az Zakenim, or something like that, some phrase to tell us that there's a new speaker. And so we saw how two other Rishonim, two other Meforshim disagreed with Rashi. One of them, Yosef Kara, is Rashi's own colleague. He's someone who learned with Rashi in northern France. And the other one is Yosef Ibn Kaspi, who lived a couple of hundred years later in Christian Spain. We're going to do Ibn Kaspi's view first, because it conceptually is a little bit closer to Rashi. Ibn Kaspi assumes that this comment about someone speaking out in the name of Hashem is still part of the Zakanim speaking, right? So we're at the trial. The Zakanim just defended Yirmiyahu by invoking the memory of Micha Hanavi, and says Ibn Kaspi, they're still speaking. They're saying, not only was there a Navi like Micha a long time ago, but there, there also was a Navi in our time named Uriah. Gam zeh midivrei hazakenim, laharot ma ben Chizkiyahu hachacham uben Yehoyakim zeh beno hasachal. These old people are still going. They mentioned Chizkiyahu, and now they're saying, look at the difference between Chizkiyahu, who was a wise king, and his son. It doesn't really mean his son, it means his descendant. Yehoyakim is Chizkiyahu's great-great-grandson. And his descendant, 5 generations later, Yehoyakim, who's a fool. Look at the difference between them. That the Zakanim say, let's discuss 2 stories. Once upon a time, there was a story of a guy named Chizkiyahu who listened to the Navi and saved the city. Whereas in our day, our king is a moron. A Navi warns him of destruction, and instead of listening to the Navi, when he prophesies, when he gives nevuah about the city's destruction, instead our king kills the Navi. They brought him to Yehoyakim killed him, and what did we gain from that? And so this is part of that same argument. Look at the difference between a wise king who listens to the Navi and a foolish king who shoots the messenger, who kills the Navi for saying what God wanted instead of obeying the message and returning to God. And so the strength of Ibn Kaspi's claim is that it explains how this section is a continuation of the same speaker from before, and that's why there's no new opening line of a new group speaking up. The weakness of Ibn Kaspi's view, though, is what does it mean, however Achikam ben Shaphan saved Yirmiyahu? What do you mean, however Achikam saved him? There was no need to save him. The pendulum had been moving further and further towards Yirmiyahu being found not guilty. And if this is still the Zakanim speaking, the Zakanim saying it was a mistake when our king executed Uriah, that's still part of the not guilty argument. So what does it mean, however Achikam ben Shaphan saved him? So Ibn Kaspi has to kind of force this. When it says, however Achikam saved him, says Ibn Kaspi, it means, come on, Zakanim. This, however, kind of relates to this whole section. Right? Originally, there were people who wanted to kill Yirmiyahu, way back earlier in the Perek, and he was saved because A, the Anashim Miziknei Haaretz, the old people, spoke up in his defense, and B, he was saved because although some people way back earlier in the Perek wanted to kill him and said Mishpat Mavad La'ish Hazeh, however, Achikam ben Shaphan, who also was an officer of the king, he wanted to protect Yirmiyahu. So it's a little strange, according to Ibn Kaspi. This, however, kind of seems misplaced. It means there was a trial where some people wanted to kill him and some people wanted to save him. And the truth is, the people who wanted to save him were kind of getting in the last word anyway. But since some people wanted to kill him, you should know that, however, there was one good guy in the government who also was on the same side of the elders and wanted to save him. Which feels a bit forced. Again, the however doesn't really flow naturally when the previous psukim, according to Ibn Kaspi, are part of an argument of the defense, and then you say, however, Achikam ben Shaphan defended him. And so we then turn to a third view, sort of the most radical view here, which is the view of Yosef Kara, who again is a colleague of Rashi. Yosef Kara says this whole unit is not part of the trial. When we begin here to talk about Uriah, this is not part of the speech of the elders. This is a separate story, an incident that occurred in the days of Yehoyakim. At the same time that Yirmiyahu, Parak doesn't mean chapter in the book, but chapter in history. Same time period of Yirmiyahu, there was another Navi, and that Navi got killed. According to Yosef Kara, the trial ended before Pasuk Chaf. So the trial ended with the elders, and the bottom line of the trial is Yirmiyahu was found not guilty at that trial. But the book of Yirmiyahu adds another story. It says, look, he was found not guilty that day, but don't think Yirmiyahu had an easy life, because in that same time period that Yirmiyahu lived, another Navi was executed for saying the same stuff. And that's why Achikam ben Shaphan had to protect Yirmiyahu. He didn't have to protect him that day. He had to protect him in general during this period. And we pointed out in support of Kara's approach that this event with Yirmiyahu takes place at the rate when Yehoyakim starts being king. And so it's hard to imagine I'll continue this in a separate video.